gamers and gamettes, what is going on? My name is toothache127 and welcome to my guide for the Factorium. The Factorium is the final three-man instance in the province Bologna in Skyforge for the PlayStation 4. And in today's guide I'll be simply just walking you guys through the basics of all three bosses in the area, and also just be aware I don't really do too much information on trash pools in dungeon guides for me, because they're pretty much just trash pools, tank and spank, whatever the strategy you guys decide to go with for the most part. But anyway guys, with that being said, let's get into the guide. So the first boss we're going to talk about is the Reinforced Oculist Warder. He's the first boss you're going to encounter there after doing a few trash pulls, to get to his dungeon gates. And this boss is fairly simple. For most of this dungeon, I'm honestly going to recommend a group of either 1 tank and 2 range DPS, 3 range DPS, or 1 melee DPS and 2 range DPS. Mainly because you always want to have one person targeting most of these bosses. There's a lot of kite strategies and everything going on in this dungeon. But anyway guys, let's get into it, talk about the strategy for the first boss. So you guys are going to notice that there are 4 little like cage electric things around the room. I'll point those out for you guys here on the screen. And while the tank is targeting the main boss, he's going to put this little pink reticle and aim it at the tank. What you want to do is you want to dodge this reticle. You want to dodge it out of the way, but at the same time you also want to aim it at one of these four cages. Reason being is because if he actually targets and shoots one of those 4 cages, it'll knock his shield down, exposing him for significant damage by the tank and of course the DPS or whatever kind of group you're running with. So you want to get his shield down as much as possible. Even if you don't take his shield down, it doesn't leave him immune to damage, but to kill him quicker, you want to take his shield down. That's mostly his main attack throughout this fight. Besides typical tank busters, he's gonna spawn a few ads here and there, just little opulent bombers. Be careful because when you kill those, they self-destruct or whatever, and they are pretty hard hitting when they do blow up. So make sure both DPS you have with you are spread out. The tank's not running near the DPS and stuff like that. But other than that, it's a pretty simple, pretty straightforward fight. Just dodge those. There's no real crazy AoE mechanics to worry about. The only thing you really have to dodge is that pink reticle laser thing that he fires. 9 times out of 10 is targeting the tank as long as the tank has aggro, but sometimes it can target the DPS, and honestly, letting it target a ranged DPS isn't really a bad thing, because ranged DPS can literally stand right next to the cages, meaning he'll aim right at those, so it'll make the fight a lot more simple for you. Wipe him down, go through the next group of trash mobs, and we'll be at the next boss. The second boss you're going to be encountering here in the Factorium is the Scissor Custodian. Also, aka for short, I just call him Custodian. Call him whichever you like. But real simple. He's pretty much similar to a lot of the drones you have been fighting through this area. You're going to notice that he's just a giant version of one of them. So here's what you're going to do depending on your group strategy. I highly recommend, like I said in the previous fight, 1 tank, 2 DPS, but to each his own. To my personal opinion, have your tank focus on him throughout the fight. Fight him through his shield. That's going to sound crazy because his shield is up a lot during this fight. This is pretty much a waved based fight. The DPS are going to be mainly focusing on the ads that spawn around the rooms. Now you're going to get all kinds of mechanoid based ads. I'm talking the Rubik's Cube looking guys, the drones, the flying smaller ones, the ones that self-destruct, all of those things. Pretty much every type of mechanoid looking ad you have seen in this game so far, you're probably going to run into during this fight. And every time you finish a wave of ads, the shield's going to drop for a temporary bit of time. I'm going to say a good maybe 20-30 seconds at best. So obviously in that time you guys want to focus all your damage on the boss and everything like that. But after that shield goes back up, you need to be careful because he's going to start spraying these electric orbs all around the room. So the tank is going to want to take a few steps back so he can dodge the orbs, and the orbs are going to come out in a different pattern each time. Just watch the pattern as they come out. Make sure you're dodging those. One other thing also, if you do have a main tanking this boss, he's going to spray down that missile square shaped red AoE all the time. Just make sure the tank's dancing around that. Other than that, guys, this fight is pretty straightforward. It's really simple. Like I said, 1 tank and 2 DPS. Mainly have the DPS focus on the ads around the room. One other strategy you can also use if you want to run with 3 DPS, or if you still want to do the one tank 2 DPS deal, is you can have everyone focus on the ads, so that way the pressure isn't as much on the DPS dealing with the ads alone. However, the only risk you run with that is dealing with the boss randomly attacking a DPS at one point in time. So if you want to take that route, and if your group's strong enough, feel free to go for that. But to my personal recommendation, 1 tank, 2 ranged DPS, or even 1 ranged, 1 melee if you like, because the ads in here aren't too crazy. One other pointer for the DPS also, you want to make sure that you're killing all the support ads quickly, because they are going to buff the boss, they're going to buff the DPS ads severely, and I'm talking to the point where they can one-shot people that are as high as 30 and 40,000 prestige. So please be careful of that. DPS, the tips are, you want to make sure you're dealing with support ads quickly. Kill them first. I'm talking prioritize before the tanks, before tank ads or before DPS ads. Kill the support ads first, because the buffs that they give to the boss and the ads themselves are ridiculous. You guys want to make sure you take care of that. But anyway, guys, burn down the Custodian, and we'll be moving on to the final boss. So in this small square-shaped room right here, before you even fight the final boss, you're going to get several waves of enemies, just similar to the waves of ads you've been dealing with throughout this whole dungeon. Just burn them down, and of course the final boss will jump out, the Cutthroat Jumper. He's the most challenging of all 3 bosses here in this dungeon, but yet then again he has the most simple mechanic. For this boss, I'm going to highly recommend 1 tank and 2 ranged DPS, especially depending on your group. You can run it with a melee and 2 range, but I'm going to highly recommend a tank, and the reason for that is because you want to keep the boss's attention focused on the tank. As you guys watch my footage here, you're going to notice immediately that he has a crazy jump attack that can poison you, damage over time, and also stun lock you inside of the poison that he leaves down. So the strategy you want to do for this, especially with your main tank running around, is you want to have your main tank kite him around the edges of the room. This is at least what me and my group did, while your 2 ranged DPSs burn him down. The reason you want to kite him and keep him at a distance, so that way he's always jumping at the tank. The tank's constantly moving, so that way the tank never gets stun locked and stuck into that poison. And also the DPS can burn him down very quickly. However, the tank is going to have to make sure that occasionally he does take a few swings, do some pulling moves, because the DPS, as much damage that they're doing to the boss, they're going to pull the aggro off of the tank fairly quickly in this one. So that's one thing you definitely want to watch out for. But it's basically just a game of ring around the rosy. To my opinion, you just want to kite the boss around the room, have your 2 ranged DPS burn him down. The mechanic for him is mostly going to stay the same. There isn't really too many ads you have to deal with in that fight, unless you have a few that jumped in beforehand. But it's mostly just you and the boss, burn him down. Just make sure you chase him around the room, and make sure the DPS have their dodging on point, just in case they do take aggro from the boss occasionally. So what you want to do is, every time he does that jumping attack, the perfect way to dodge is make sure you use your dodge maneuver when he leaps into the air, because by the time he targets you, he already has it set exactly where he's going to land. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're dodging while he's in the air. Don't try and dodge beforehand, don't dodge later. Dodge the second you see him jump up, and you will avoid that poison pool each time. But anyway, guys, if this guide helped you, be sure to smash that thumbs up button for me, and I want to thank you all so much for watching. It's your boy toothache127, and please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and be sure to leave suggestions in the comment below for which dungeon you want to see a guide on next. Till next time, guys, peace out, take care.